Did you know there are places where the silence itself feels ominous? Welcome to the frozen wilds of northern Canada, where the lines between reality and myth blur, and unearthly whispers have haunted those brave, or foolish, enough to tread too deeply. Welcome to the Nightside Archive. This is the story of the frozen forest whispers, Canada's enigmatic cry. They call it the Snowvale Forest, named for the almost otherworldly light that filters through the dense frosted trees. The air here is so still, so devoid of life, that the crunch of snow underfoot feels like an intrusion. Hunters and loggers who have ventured too deeply into this forest whisper tales of shadows that move where they shouldn't, and voices that echo though no one is near. For years, these were dismissed as the imaginings of tired, frost-bitten men. That is, until someone never left to tell their tale. It began with the Hawkins family in the winter of 1902. They were pioneers looking to carve out a life in the wilderness. But Snowvale Forest was not a place for the unprepared. Locals warned them against pitching their home too near its edges. It's not the wolves you should fear, they were told, but what watches from the trees. The Hawkins, too strong-willed or perhaps too desperate to care for rumors, built their cabin at the forest's edge and mocked the superstitions of the townsfolk. By spring, their cabin was found abandoned. Inside, everything was intact. Food was still in the cupboards, laundry folded neatly by the primitive hearth. But there was one oddity, a thin layer of frost covering the ground inside the cabin. Search parties combed the forest for weeks, hoping to find a sign of the Hawkins family. All they found were boot prints leading in a zigzag deeper into the snow-coated expanse, then vanishing entirely. Whatever happened to the Hawkins family remains a mystery. But it doesn't stop there. For decades, solitary wanderers and travelers passing near Snowvale Forest have spoken of hearing a single voice amidst the freezing wind, a whisper that calls them by name. And in a 100-year tradition that's as eerie as it is inexplicable, anyone who hears the whispers often finds something waiting for them at the forest's edge the next morning. Childhood keepsakes they've long forgotten. Objects deeply tied to their past, but never left behind in these woods. Stories of an old watch returned to a widow, a missing doll from one's youth, an antique photograph restored, things they could barely even remember losing, let alone bringing along. In 1978, a park ranger stationed in the nearby area stepped forward with his experience. His name was Michael Crane, and his account sent chills down the spines of everyone who listened. Alone on patrol through the trails near Snowvale Forest, Michael felt the temperature plummet suddenly and inexplicably. His radio crackled faintly, though no one spoke. Then came the whisper, a low, fragmented call of Michael. He recalled spinning around in confusion, finding nothing there. What chilled him wasn't just the sound. It was the distinct sense that the voice was near his ear. That night, Michael returned to his outpost, visibly shaken. The next day, just outside the edge of the forest, he discovered something lying in the snow, a locket that had once belonged to his mother. She lost it when Michael was just a toddler. There was no explaining how it got there. He promptly resigned from his post. Years later, in interviews, Michael confided that he always felt like the forest wanted him to stay, but not for reasons he could dare to understand. Despite these tales, it's not just ghosts and whispers that seem to plague Snowvale Forest. In the 1980s, yet another string of disappearances shrouded the area in even darker mystery. 3 campers from Quebec went missing without a trace. Authorities could trace their steps to a moment they set up camp right along the tree line. But what happens between that and them seemingly vanishing was anyone's guess. Their packs were still zipped tightly, and logs of their short stay can still be unearthed that point to no threats. A calm night, no animal ransacking either. Yet eerily so, the diaries mention nothing peculiar except one camper penned. Tonight we hear the winds speak odd syllables. If anything personal from our cabin seems missing, we suspect our minds imagined its loss. But the sensation is like your childhood items, tickling back some phantom here, almost. They, too, were chalked up victims to the Wander's call. Lending into psychological scientific skeptics of good regular frost lovers Camp's phenomenon of pareidolia, a tempting concept attributing accidental collective illusions. No clear agreement. Its unsettling precise alignment. 55 vanish particularly parallel chouristics meeting math upon non-human trace.